Out here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it is going to be the turn of The Shend. Not one time. He is still a member of the Cravats, but also the very things Grimetime and lots more. And the exciting news is he has now got a book out called Rub Me Out that's going to be, or is available from Advanced Records. It came out at the beginning of the month. It also features insights from the man himself and also the likes of Stuart Lee, Jello Biafra, Penny Rambo, John Robb and also Mick Mercer. Indeed it does. So look, this is the interview, and after several minutes of casual chat we got down to that very exciting subject that was, how long it took to bring the book out. I know, fascinating. I had just been talking about quite a lot of other publications and films that had come out from various bands and artists from the late 70s and 80s. Anyway, The Shend, it's over to you. Take it away.
To be perfectly honest, last July. That was when I first thought of it. Basically, I was going to write an autobiography, and I started, and I just thought this is going to take years because there was all the band stuff, and then there was all the acting stuff, and then I worked for Paul Raymond for 8 years in Soho, right in filth. So there was a lot of chapters to get through, and Pete Jones of Paranoid Visions said, I was just talking to him one day and said, look, this is going to take forever. And he went, well, you've written 52 odd songs. Why don't you do a songbook, but fill it in with anecdotes, get some of your mates to send contributions, and off you go. So
yes,
I finished it by Christmas. I formatted it myself, which was a horrendous learning curve. I had no idea what I was doing, but and then Pete Jones' Rotator, his printing company, printed it for me. So.
Blimey, God, you formatted it yourself. I must admit that's even harder than writing the ruddy thing.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely spot on. I mean, it was, I'm pretty good on Word. I'm pretty good on Photoshop, doing posters and all the sleeves and everything for records, but just no idea what I was doing. So the first sort of proof that came back, which is just a few sheets of paper, I'd spaced all the lines wrong. So it looked like a book for early learning center or the visually impaired. I mean, it just looked ridiculous. So it was like, back to the drawing board. And then, of course, when it's 270 pages or something like that, and it's all one file, so you move one line, then it throws the whole rest of the book out of whack. So you've then got to go back and do it. It just took forever. I mean, time after time, and then but got it in the end. So it was all right.
But it's interesting because there is the world is always split into two groups, isn't there? There's people who, when you're doing that editing or publishing, and they say, "Oh, could you just change something?" And they've never done something like that because you realise that's going to take me all afternoon. They go, no, you just have to squeeze that in or just take that out. And you think, no, there are repercussions which are going to be absolutely horrendous. So you probably have now a lot more sort of empathy with people in the world of design and publishing. But then you must have done a lot of kind of posters and creative stuff yourself. And did it also mean that you spent a lot of time in your attic looking through boxes of memorabilia?
Yeah. I've got, I keep everything. So... I don't actually. I've found a lot of things missing, but my loft is just full of boxes and boxes of stuff. So, and because this was basically a songbook, I was able to go right up to all the Antalong stuff, which only came out last year. So it starts in 1977, but ends in December last year.
Yes.
So it's more a travelogue through my songs rather than an autobiography or a thing about the 80s, because that'll all come in the biography.
Yes,
get there.
The 80s. But did you find, because I noticed a lot of people went through mostly quite a downer during last year, the musicians and artists and various other people in the creative industries. But you obviously kept very busy because there were, guitarists who've had amazing, life in music, didn't touch the guitar. They said, look, it's just there behind me. It needs to, I need to do this, the strings, but I can't be bothered because life is just not worth living. But you brought an album out and this book, so you must have been chugging on the coffee quite a lot.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I thoroughly enjoyed lockdown. I know, you're not allowed to say that, but it just meant, obviously, the Cravats couldn't do all the gigs that we'd got booked, and it was like, well, I'm useless at just sitting there doing nothing unless there's something good on the telly. So I thought, okay, let's do the book, and me and Joe 91, the bass player from the Cravats, we just started sending files to each other, and bing, we had an Anzalong album, so we released it, sold it out, and that was that. It was pretty good, really.
Yeah, so when did you write Goody Goody Gumdrops?
That's a fairly recent one, so that was probably 2018.
Right. So that was, right, okay, because the production and the sound of your saxophone, not your saxophone, was pretty amazing. So I thought, well, you couldn't have, I'd have been amazed if that had been sort of files being sort of pinged to each other in Dropbox.
No, because all the Hurrahland album, which came out 2 weeks before lockdown started, great timing, of course, and we released the album, which had taken a year and a half to do. So, as far as I know, everybody says this, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the best thing the Cravats ever did. Sort of pinnacle, because everything worked. All the production was brilliant. We used Brighton Electric Studios. They're fantastic. We spent lots of time, lots of money, just to get it perfect. And we released it, did a session for Mark Riley, and that was it. Lockdown started, and that was the end. We had 15, 20 gigs lined up, all cancelled, and it was just like, well, what do you do now then?
Yes.
So it was, find something to do.
Yes.
So,
but it's interesting because I think the same with the Nightingales. I prefer their last album than their early album, which I know you shouldn't say because you're supposed to like the very early stuff. But, I prefer... I've been playing a lot of the Cravats over the last week and thought, actually, I much prefer the later albums, mainly because the production...
Well, that's very pleasing to know because, the early days, a lot of the early stuff suffered from atrocious production because we didn't know what we were doing, and we were at the, beck and call of whatever 20 quid somebody had to spend in a studio. Whereas, now it's like, and with the Viscount Biscuits and Joe 91 on bass and guitar, they just sort of had the aesthetic spot on of the old stuff, but then, were up to the minute on what they were making. So it was, Hurrahland's my favourite thing. Dust for the Sound I think is great, which is the album before, but there's still things on that I think you could have done that better, but Hurrahland I just thought was great.
Yes, I know. I was, but you always just, one feels a little inadequate when you know that Stuart Lee's going to say he loves In Toy Town as one of the great albums of all time. You think, oh God, I prefer the last album, and he always makes you feel that big, doesn't he? When you were going back to the book and going through it, it was kind of interesting because you had a slightly similar experience to the Lunatics, because they mention, I believe, Fire Records as well in their book and say we can't mention anymore because of various reasons, so let's skip that next bit. So when you were sort of going back, because obviously you've got the Cravats, but the very things that the band that a lot of people know, how do you feel when you have to sort of look back at that particular period of your life?
Well, at the time we were doing it, it was, fantastic, and we owned everything, and we could, and like a lot of bands, you end up signing a stupid deal that I think a music lawyer once said to us with the Fire contract. I'm not sure how much of this I should say, but when a music lawyer who looked at it said, well, we want drugs when you signed this. And no, we went. But you're naive and you don't know what you're doing. But you sign away stuff that you don't even get back when the Earth crashes into the sun. So it's hideous stuff. So all the very thing stuff is sort of tied up. But we have a plan on that, which I can't go into. But
does it? Are you doing a Taylor Swift?
No, we're not doing a Taylor Swift. But
that's enough.
Yeah, I can't really say. But next year, at the end of the summer next year, which is a long way away, but there's something rather special going to happen. So. Hopefully. The one thing with the very things is everybody in the world knows the Bushy Scream While My Daddy Prunes song. So thankfully to the Tube mainly, who did that great video. But every Halloween it gets played, and people still play on Radio 6 and heaven knows what else all the time. And it's just a tragedy that we can't, because Fire won't re-release it, and we can't have it back. So. It's like, how hideous is that? And but I've got a plan.
Yes.
And it will be an amazing plan.
Yes.
And it will work. It's just, I can't do anything until next year.
Yeah, a cunning plan. But did you, when you were growing up, did you have because I was born 64, so I'm in my mid to late 50s now. It was the kind of early glam rock period that sort of hit me like a train, and I was very obsessed with the whole lot. And thankfully, David Bowie was my first single and my first love. What was your kind of musical moment that sort of, you would say, changed your life, or cultural moment that made you kind of think, that's kind of far out and out there?
Well, in the sort of late 70s or mid 70s, because I'm 1957, I was born. I'm very old, but so in the 70s, I really got into the sensational Alex Harvey band and Alice Cooper, and then and Captain Beefheart, to be honest, as well. But and then I loved a lot of the glam stuff. So Slade was sort of lived down the road, and Slade had just gods in my eyes. I got into all the glam stuff, but I also liked a lot of the Tamla Motown stuff because it's dancey, and then quite a lot of the old sort of garage psychedelia from the 60s, the one-hit wonders that weren't even a hit.
No, the Nuggets kind of compilation.
On the Nuggets, Pebbles, all those things.
Was there a sort of a film or a book that particularly kind of sort of resonated with you at a young age? Because you've got quite a far out sort of imagination.
I've probably seen Black Sabbath in 1972 in Birmingham when I was about 14 or something like that. And a friend and his dad took us to see Black Sabbath, and I've just never seen. It just totally took the top of my head off. I'd never seen anything like it. And it was so sort of dark and scary, but also just incredibly exciting. And I think that's what sort of got me into searching out music all over the place,
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, then you just went down a record shop and, everybody talked to everybody and they go, well, if you like that, have a listen to this. And then suddenly you're off on a tangent musically, and which was great. But these days you've got things like Bandcamp, which are just I love Bandcamp. I think I use it for my radio show all the time because it's you end up suddenly you're in Peru listening to some gypsy metal band who's nobody's ever heard of, and you think, where would I have ever heard this?
Well, I guess not really guess, but we had the gatekeepers, didn't we? And the person who probably shaped a lot of people's lives was John Peel. So he was the person who would spend all day and every day sort of shifting through, all the reggae stuff and Bulgarian folk or, death metal, and then just say, right, or reggae, and then just kind of bring the best one that he'd heard that particular period and play it. And you think, thank God for that, because I'm not going to be a specialist in sort of South African, music, but he's kind of done the work for me. And here's the Bundu Boys, or the Four Brothers, or Thomas McFumo. So it was always kind of very easy, or not easy, but it was kind of convenient, wasn't it, to have John Peel?
Well, it's as everybody knows, he changed so many people's lives, because it was that, every night, every weeknight, 10 o'clock, you put John Peel on, and the next day or the weekend you'd go to the record shop and go, can I have this, can I have that? And, he was just I'd say he was one of the most important people in music, even with Elvis Presley and whoever. I think John Peel, was up there with one of the most important people ever in music. But,
yes.
Contentious, but I'll stick with that.
No, I did once do an interview with Toyah, who was one of the few people who couldn't bear him, but that's another story, because he didn't play any of her records. But there's a couple of wounded people, and I noticed you've got a Toyah moment in your book, haven't you? Well, not a Toyah moment, but and I thought,
smash hits, that is, I believe. But you imagine how thrilled we were when he said that. I haven't managed to stop Toyah, and I haven't done anything for the Cravats. Classic. As you can tell by the bit in the book, it's a copy of a copy of a copy, because I lost the original, which was really annoying. But,
yes. And when you started the Cravats, what was your kind of intention? Because there was a certain amount of a slightly surreal kind of image you had. Well, not about surreal, but you definitely dressed up, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. It was always, basically sort of black suits and white shirts and nice ties. And, we always had this thing, which I still have, to be honest, that if I want to go to a show, I want to be entertained by somebody putting on a show. I don't want to see a bunch of people on stage who look like they've just got off the bus and they look exactly the same as the audience. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because of all things like Alice Cooper and Sensational Alex Harvey Band, where it was you just come out afterwards and think, whoa, that was amazing. They really entertained. They made an effort. It's like they made an effort.
Yes.
To entertain me, and I'm a firm believer in that. It's if I go and we've never done a gig where we've just played in jeans and t-shirts. I mean, ever in 45 years, because it would be a hideous crime. That's what you do down in the rehearsal room. Why somebody's just paid a tenner to come and see you, and you've walked out the rehearsal room and just standing there playing, hideous.
Yes. And did you, I mean, when was the point when you thought, I've really committed to this as a lifestyle, not lifestyle, but as my path in life? Was there, when you started the Cravats, did it feel like you were going to just do this for a couple of years, or was there a sort of a longer?
Yeah, I mean, well, the huge thing which he mentions in the book was going to see the Stranglers, and it was the day after that we formed the Cravats. But with an acoustic guitar and a pair of bongos, and it was. We made the record, thanks to me, Mam, who lent us 400 quid, and it was really the first play on John Peel, because you just thought, blimey, we're going to be on Top of the Pops in 3 weeks. This is it. And I think the next week I had a appointment with the career opportunities in Redditch, and they wanted me to go to Warwick University to do business studies. And while she was in the back room, I left and just thought, no, I'm going to be a punk rocker. And that was sort of it, really. That was the last attempt at doing real work.
Yes, and when you watched, I'm guessing you must have watched King Rocker, Rob Lloyd. Did you sort of think, my God, my life has had equally the amount of strange ups and downs? I don't know. You probably haven't had a heart attack, but hopefully.
No, well, luckily not yet.
Not yet, but yes, kind of related to some of those kind of. Yes, well, I couldn't have imagined that happening.
There are certain artists or bands that are absolutely great, but they never quite crack it. You know, Nightingales are a classic example. I would, humbly say that the Cravats are the same, where everything they do is really good, and the people who like it love it with a passion, but it's like that needs to be multiplied by 100 to make it successful. You know, so you never sell enough records, you never get enough people at your gigs. And you're sort of, everybody's heard of the Nightingales and the Cravats and people like that, but I've never actually seen them or listened to anything. I've heard the name, and which, to be honest, I mean, throughout history that's been the case, but it's never bothered me. I don't think it bothers Robert Lloyd. It's just like that's the way it is, and it's like, okay, you're never going to be AC/DC, but nobody would really want to be,
Yes, absolutely.
And also, of course, you'll be really famous when you're dead. I mean, another band I'd put in there is the Astronauts, who they've released loads and loads of LPs, absolute brilliant. Mark Astronaut is one of my favourite lyricists, and they'll play a gig and there's 40 people there, and you just think, what? There's no sort of comprehension to it. But recently, even I went to see Pere Ubu in Brighton, probably 4 years ago now, and there were 62 people there. And you just think, this is Pere Ubu. I mean, one of the best bands ever.
Yes.
And, they play in London and they'll get, 250 people. But this was Brighton, and just nobody could be asked to turn up. And you just think, hey, this is Pere Ubu. I don't know. So I've sort of got used to it, but I don't understand it. I still don't understand it.
Yes, well, I sort of remember seeing. I think it was an anti-Poltax gig with the Astronauts, but actually, the other guy was. There's lots actually, so we won't keep going. But Joseph Porter from Blythe Power, I keep thinking, his lyrics are incredible, and one day someone will write a book and put all his lyrics in and then explain how fantastically complicated and how much research went into every historic song that he's written, which is fantastic. But bizarrely, you would only get 20 people at a gig, so yes, you're not going to get rich on Blythe Power, are you?
No, I mean that's just the way it is, and it's like if I still, I mean, weirdly, at the back of your mind, you still have to think that initial thought of, I'm going to be on Top of the Pops next week. Because, it's like a little thing where you think, well, sooner or later people will go, actually, they're brilliant. Oh, God, do you want to play at our festival? Here's 4,000 quid, and there's a massive crowd. But you also know that that's never going to happen. But you have to have that, I'm going to be on Top of the Pops next week.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's like, you're just treading water.
And being based in dear old East Anglia, there was a lovely bit by Cathy Unsworth in your book, which, because there was a comedian, there still is a comedian who came from Norwich called Carl Minns, who was from Yarmouth, and he did the Nimmo Twins, and he writes for a lot of other people on Radio 4 and stuff like that. So I did an interview with him, and he explained the importance of an art college in a little town, and he mentions Great Yarmouth and says, this was the only place that the kind of alternative kids would go to. And Cathy kind of explains that so well in your book, doesn't she?
Absolutely. And I think another important thing is that small town England is just people coming from places like Redditch and Great Yarmouth and Solihull, and it's like you gravitate to anything of any worth anywhere. So you instantly form a pretty select band of friends.
Yes, absolutely.
And a lot of those people will. They want to sort of break out of Great Yarmouth and Solihull and Redditch, so the only way really to do it is to do some sort of music or writing or art or, just something that will get out of your mundane existence. And
well, I suppose it reminds me of that Big Black song, Kerosene, by dear old Steve Albini. And there is that sense of sort of like going slowly bonkers, and you're either going to end up in prison or probably in Hollywood. And well, there might be an in between. You might be at the theatre or Norwich, but for Panto. But then it is. Yes, you're right. Those winters probably on the sort of coastal towns like Yarmouth will shape you, won't they? They'll make you or break you. But
it exactly make you or break you. And if you've got sort of you probably read quite a lot, and you probably listen to interesting music, and you want to learn more, and you're not going to learn more if you stay where you are. So you have to go somewhere. And I mean, obviously London is the one a lot of people gravitate to, which I did, and which Kathy did, and lots of other people, because that's where the action is. And
yes, absolutely. So when you did your book, because it vaguely kind of has nice, like you had the Cravats years, then you had the Very Things years. When you came to the end of the Very Things, because during the 80s, we had that sort of post-punk period, and then we had the kind of indie period with, like, I suppose, I know it's a bit tricky now, but there was the Smiths between 83 to 87, where things felt like indie pop was really a thing. Yeah. And then they broke up, Ecstasy came along, all those bands like the Wolfhounds, Yeah, Yeah, No, June Brides, they'd all kind of pretty well exhausted and said, that's it, I've had it. And also the next wave of 16 to 18-year-olds want their kind of soundtrack and their band that they've discovered. Yeah. So a lot of people conk out, that's a technical term, and the Very Things, also conk out at that stage. What is this when you hit the acting world?
Yes, it was really, because I'd sort of moved to London. And the sort of bands, obviously it was difficult to still be in the Cravats and the Very Things when I was in London and they were up in the Midlands. So, we did, the Very Things did 3 or 4 European tours, which were great. But then it sort of, I found out you could get an equity card if you'd been a singer in a band, and it was when equity cards were really important. You couldn't do anything on the BBC or anything with it if you didn't have an equity card. And you literally walked in the office where, look, there's a picture of me on the single. I'm a singer. I've just been offered There Ain't Nothing Like a Dame in the West End, but I can't do it without an equity card. And they went, come back tomorrow and we'll give you one. And they did, which was ridiculous, because if you're an actor, you couldn't get one for love nor money, and there were people becoming magicians' assistants and things just to try and get enough contracts to get one. But I got one in 2 days, which was brilliant.
Yes.
And then I did some extra work, which was it was great, because you got £100 a day for standing in a field in your socks. And then I did the Paradise Club with Dirty Den and a couple of others, Victor Spinetti, and they gave me lines, and which was obviously terrifying. But so I did that, and then I got a really good agent who just got me one job after another.
Right. Did you become slightly typecast with your kind of...
Oh, absolutely, which is fantastic. I mean... ask Leonard Nimoy. It's just, being typecast is the best. Because, if they wanted a great big balding bloke thug, then there was probably 15, 20 of us in London. You'd go for a casting, and you sort of, one in half of them could talk properly or looked funny or. So you sort of 1 in 7 chance of getting every job, which was great,
And
it was all, that quite often it would be, I just played myself. So obviously a thugger version of myself, but you turn up for a job and they go, actually, forget wardrobe, can you just wear what you're wearing? It's easier, And and it was all sort of 4 words or 6 lines or something, but you were on the telly and your mum could watch it, and it was just absolutely brilliant. and you got paid tons of money. So.
Yes, and you probably thought this is why I am the next David Bowie. Well,
Yeah, that was it. I did sort of think, that's just going to go on forever now. I found my vocation. I'm going to be a famous actor. And but he lasted about 15 to 20 years of really good. And then as you get older, you slip into a different bracket. And you can't be the enforcer young thug anymore. You can't be the motorcycler. And you can't be the old big boss. So you're sort of, old fan driver, this and that,
Yes.
But it did. But I was sensibly just put most of my money away, so and paid off my mortgage in London. So I just thought, it doesn't really matter.
Yes, absolutely. So then, before 2016, were you doing any music, before the Cravats came back again?
Well, I did Grimetime, which was the roughy tufty motorcycle gang, and with Jules Webb, who used to be in the English subtitles of another band on Small Wonder back in the day. And both of us loved sort of 60s psychedelic biker films. So we just did Grimetime's Spirit of Disgust album. Was all based on that sort of stuff, but our own songs.
Yes, but then what made you sort of do the phone call for the Cravats to re-emerge?
To be honest, it was Daz who is one of the people who runs Rebellion Festival in Blackpool, and I think 2008 he got in touch somehow with me and just said, "We'd love to have the Cravats on. Would you reform to play the festival?" And he offered a rather nice, handsome fee. And I thought, well, hey, that'd be good fun. So I got a hold of everybody, and it was sort of on. And then my sort of cohort didn't want to do it fairly close to when it was going to happen, so I had to cancel it. But luckily, Daz asked us for the next year, 2009, and I just thought, I'm just going to sort it out myself, and not ask people. So I got a band sorted out, and we went and did it, which was brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. Did with the band coming back together, was it always? Well, it wouldn't have been actually at the time, but you sort of have brought out 2 new albums. I mean, was that something that kind of surprised you? The enthusiasm to want to record again?
Well, it was because in the Reformation, there's basically me and Svor Naan, the sax player. We're the only original members, but the sort of the 2 key members. And so I got Rampton Garstang on drums, who strangely came from Redditch. So he took over the drums. And I had 2 other people doing guitar and bass. We did some gigs and we just played old material, which was all right, but it was a bit like being a cabaret band, just playing all this old stuff. But it didn't feel like it was right to write new stuff because it just didn't feel like a newish band. And then they sort of left, the guitarist and bass player, and I got Joe, 91, who used to play with the Astronauts, and Viscount Biscuits, who's the guitarist with Bevis Front. And as soon as they joined, basically, it was just like, flipping heck, it just feels like it did when you were a teenager.
Yes.
So we started writing pretty straight away, and by, I don't know, I mean, I think by the time Dustbin of Sound came out, I think the first gig after that album came out, we didn't play a single old track. We just played everything from Dustbin of Sound. And nobody came up afterwards going, "Oh, you didn't play this, you didn't play that." So we just thought, well, yeah, we're obviously doing something right. So I mean, basically the only old thing we play is I Hate the Universe, which ends the set every single gig and always has done.
Yes, blimey, is it easier now? Because I've noticed a few bands who reformed. There's two, aren't there? There's two stories of this. There's the one that is the original members and it goes really badly, and there's the band who reforms but with a few different members and a bit of a clearer kind of whose band it is. Is it kind of, with you, does it feel a lot easier just saying, actually I am kind of the Cravats with Nam as well?
Yeah, because the lucky thing was that I was always the face of it anyway, and right from the beginning. So, and the only other, the other thing that everybody remembers about the Cravats was the saxophone, and Svor is still in it and writes all the saxophone. So, basically, it's sort of having the two key members was pretty good. Even though I was originally the bass player and the singer. But it's all too complicated doing both now. So, we've existed longer as this version of the Cravats than the original did. So, most people just regard, they like the old stuff and all Precinct and the Peel sessions and things, but it's the new stuff that people sort of want to hear, so which is nice.
Yes, absolutely. And if you could say something to your kind of 16 to 18-year-old self, kind of beginning that kind of murky and interesting world of, both being in a band and creativity, what is there something that you would have whispered to them?
I don't know. I would certainly say pick a weird name. That would probably be my advice before I did pick a weird name. As soon as you become, which is another thing I got off Alice Cooper, to be perfectly honest, is that if you give yourself a fake name, you can do anything you like. And it's not you, it's your cartoon character.
Oh.
So by becoming The Shend, it's great. Yeah, everybody knows The Shend. Well, yeah, they've heard the word. It's brilliant. So, I can go to the shop and they think I'm called Shend, and, I am called Shend now, but back then I wasn't, so, I'd advise anybody 16, wait a year, then just pick a funny name. Get away with murder.
Yes.
It's good for tax purposes as well.
Nice. Well, that's always good to do. Keep your
I don't know. I mean, there's all the sort of cliched things of follow your heart. And, the other thing was, if you possibly can, avoid actually doing any work. Proper work, real work. Working for the man. But it's very, very difficult. And back then it was easy because you could just sign on the dole for years.
Yes. Well,
nowadays you can't do anything like that, and you've had it. So.
The Job Seekers Alliance and Enterprise Alliance scheme has created a lot of bands.
Yeah, well, exactly. I did the Enterprise Allowance scheme twice. Funnily enough, once as a magician's assistant.
Oh, nice. With £1,000 in your bank account.
It's just brilliant. And then you can just get on with what you want to do. But I remember going down at one point after 8 years in Redditch on the Dole. They called me in for an interview, and they were going to prosecute me for failing to maintain myself. Which is just, I would have loved to have gone to court for that. But I found out from this book, Know Your Rights book, that they'd only ever successfully done it once, and so I argued the point, and they never did. So I carried on for another 2 years.
God, that's good. That's very good. And does that mean, because you did say at the beginning that you're going to also write your autobiography as well? Yeah.
I'm ploughing through that. I mean, it's just a lot to remember, I'm not very good with dates and specific, this happened in Chelmsford. It's like, I know it was roughly somewhere that wasn't here or there, but so I have to keep cross-referencing and things, otherwise. Or, as I did with some of the Rub Me Out book, is you just make it up. I mean, nobody knows. and who cares? You know?
Yes, well, it came over in the Nightingales, didn't they, about creating a false narrative. Now, look,
Yeah.
I might have just missed something here, but in the book, there's the MM. Now, have I just missed some? Who is the MM in the book?
That's yeah. It explains that right at the beginning. Actually, it's that's Mick Mercer.
Right, good, Mick Mercer.
So Mick Mercer, because I asked for contributions from loads of people and got some lovely ones, and Mick Mercer, who's hopefully you know him, but he's
yes,
goth overlord and writer and
photographer.
Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah,
I bought some of his books.
Oh, he's great, and he edited Zigzag and Melody Maker and loads of other things. And when I asked him to contribute, I said, "I'll just write something about your favourite songs or something." So he took it on himself to write a bit about every single song I've ever written, and so it just became part of the whole book, But in the introduction, it explains who MM is.
Right. I'm not sure if because I have looked at the it's a PDF, so I'm not quite sure. Well, it might be there, but
of course, you didn't have the proper box, so it's not necessarily easy to read.
No, but it's yes. I'd been looking at the MM, thinking, who the hell's MM? So Mick Mercer, now I know it all. Yes, I followed his kind of story about his cat recently, which was very sad. So
yeah. There again, he's one of those people I met when he worked on Melody Maker or Sounds, I think, when I first moved to London. He's got we used a bit of one of his reviews on the back of the Cravats in Toy Town, the first album. He came to see us at the Hope and Anchor in London. And he sort of fell in love with the band, and we've just been real good mates ever since, and he's just really funny. He's a great writer, and because he'd written on every single song, I've just thought, no, I'm not leaving bits out. I'm just going to put all your bits in totally.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to say, it is. I've loved it. It's great to see the photo. I mean, it's great seeing the photographs, seeing the stories. Let's face it, because it's such a time period, isn't it? That can't be any other decade. That's the other thing, isn't it? You just look and think, and not many people took cameras during that period, did they?
Well, that was a weird thing. I mean, I used to lug this. It's an old Russian
Praktika.
Yeah, and it's a great bulky thing. And you say, what am I carrying this around for? And then I think here I've got a sort of folder with about 600 negatives from all those. I mean, it's like Mick Mercer used to do it as well, but I've got loads of photos of jam jars and carpets and cupboards, because I didn't really know what I was doing. But and of course, with black and white film, you could process it yourself. So in your bedroom, in pitch darkness. So I used to sort of process them myself as well, and I'm flipping glad that I kept them all. So as a record, it's superb.
It is fantastic, yes, because actually that's one of the things that a lot of people don't. I mean, there are some clubs, obviously CBGB's and the Mud Club, but there's a lot in England where people obviously didn't take photographs, and it's really hard to convey the excitement of a place when it has no pictures to sort of highlight that. So
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a shame because, I mean, obviously now everybody's got stupid iPhones and click, click, click all the time, and it's the opposite, really. It's just totally irritating. And for a band, you end up, people post this appalling footage of you on YouTube of, you doing some song, but they're standing right over on the right-hand side, and it's just this horrible, messy noise. And you think, and you want to just take it down because it's horrible. It's not even a historical statement because it's just appalling.
Yes.
But back then it was like nobody did anything. I mean, we played with the birthday party in '83 at the Zigzag Club in London, and somebody filmed 2 songs of ours on a Super 8 camera with sound, and I spent 25 years tracking it down to a bloke in New Zealand. This is last year, I think. And I got in touch with him. He said, yeah, I've still got it. It's in the loft. Sent him some money to convert it to digital at some place in Auckland. He sent me the file. I put it up on YouTube last year, I think. And it's I Hate the Universe, but the original band, the crowd, the sound quality. Yeah, I mean, it's Super 8, so it's not brilliant, but it is a fantastic colour. It's like a fantastic record of an event.
Yes, absolutely.
And, so I mean, it's just such a shame there's not more stuff, but what can you do?
What can you do? Anyway, look forward to the future, as Slade once said. It's only just begun, so there you go.
Well, it's only just begun. Yes, I mean, it's all been very weird for a good long while, and will probably continue to be a bit weird, but... and I must admit, I haven't watched a single streamed gig because it's just, no, I can't do that. I mean, it's great that people are doing them, but it's not for me, It's like, it has to be standing there leaping about or something, or getting drunk, but...
no, it doesn't work, because all you do is look at their kitchen going, nice units.
Yeah, and it's like, then the cat interrupts it. Yeah, no, it is all a bit, but needs must, I suppose. People just wanted to play.
Just want to play. Anyway, look, thank you ever so much for this. This has been amazing. If you want, I can always send you the link, and you can always...
Yeah, well, definitely send me the link, because I think I found one of your links, and I lost it again, so I don't actually know where it is. And if you send me the link, then I'll obviously... stick it up on my social media.
I know, it's it actually.
But,
our platforms.
It'd be lovely to post it around.
Yes, well look, thanks a lot. And like I said, love the book. It's fantastic.
Oh, well that's great. I mean, obviously it's great to mention the book, because I could do with selling more of them. And you've got a link to where people can get it or something.
Yes, definitely. Okay.
Anyway, but... yeah, it's done very well. We're on 3rd edition, I think, next week, which is ridiculous. So,
wow, that's really cool.
We did 250 in 3 days. I wish we record sold like that. And then we did a second edition of 250, which I think there's 4 left. So we'll go into the 3rd. And that's with 2 reviews and just people like your good self and friends on Facebook going, hey, great, I'll buy one. Oh, I got this, it's great. So, and it's not better than, doing some silly sponsored ad in Facebook, or, you just sound like an idiot.
Yes, this is true. So, a bit desperate.
Word of mouth, that's how it used to be, that's how it still is. So,
yes. It's not like a recommendation from another person. That's always good. Yeah. Anyway, look, thanks ever so much, and enjoy the sunny day.
Okay, and you, absolutely lovely to chat. And definitely send me the link.
I will. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And that, dear listener, is how you end the conversation, or not. I love to leave those in because they're very fumbly and slightly self-conscious. But anyway, look, that was me in conversation with The Shend, one time member of The Very Things, but also a member of the Cravats. Do check out the new album, because there's some amazing songs on it, and personally I think the production's so much better. And also go and buy a copy of his book, Rub Me Out. It is fantastic, and it does also include a little bit from Kathy Unsworth about Great Yarmouth, which brought a smile to my face. Anyway, look, I don't know, just Google The Shend, the Cravats, The Very Things, Rub Me Out book, and hopefully buy a copy. It will blow your mind. And fantastic pictures. Anyway, and this has been David Eastaugh, the C86 Show. If you want to contact me, you can on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just do C86 Show. Also, just keep it positive. Frankly, I don't care if you've got issues. And also, all these interviews have been archived, so you can find those on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. It's true. Anyway, look, have a great week and stay safe.